our Health Monday segment with Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy. I saw Danny Saturday. He's looking better than you guys are.
He is. I mean, he's retired now. He's in shape. He's looking good.
Yeah, he sure is. And he
it's weird how that works. When you're retired and not working anymore, you're happier and look better, right?
That's right.
He still loves to harass people, though, including me.
He
twice
does.
Over the weekend. Same weekend, twice.
Listen, you don't want to be around Dad if you don't want to get insulted, right?
Yeah, you got to be ready.
That's right.
COVID-19, coronavirus, has been the center of conversation for months now. But there are other things out there that we're having to deal with, too, and kind of update us on the drug market situation and ever-learning education with you guys for us, the patient.
Well, what we want to do today is look at kind of some marketplace updates. We're struggling with what to call this segment, but I guess that's as good as anything. The first thing we'll talk about here in just a second is the fact that Ranitidine, which is a very popular heartburn and acid reflux medicine, available both over the counter and by prescription, is no longer available. And then we want to address, we'll talk about that. Then we want to address some new OTC products coming to the market. As Jimmy Dale said, these things have all kind of taken a backseat to the coronavirus. So if this were a literal newspaper, you'd have coronavirus on the first 20 pages and all this on the 21st page. That's exactly right.
Kind of like an ad.
Yeah. But it is so important because, health issues abound in our public today, especially with older people, and with this heartburn reflux stuff, that affects a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in this particular, and I should have looked this up ahead of time, this particular drug, Ranitidine, between the prescription and over-the-counter versions available, is one of the, and I don't know what number to throw out here, top 20, 30, 40 drugs in America, most commonly taken. So, I mean, this is not there's this drug that a few people here and there take that's just been recalled from the market. This is an extremely common and popular drug to use for heartburn, acid indigestion, reflux, any of these things. And so what has happened, and a lot of you have heard about this or read about this over the last year or so, our FDA that tests things periodically has started finding impurities in certain of our medications, mostly generic medications made in other countries. And it's good to know our FDA is testing these things that we don't know about all the time. Good to know they're doing this, right? We ignore it. We assume it's being done. It is. So good. And then they'll start to find these impurities and go, well, maybe this one batch here is bad. We'll pull it. Or maybe this one batch here. Well, it got to the point with Ranitidine that, okay, we're going to yank it. No more. We're going to pull Ranitidine until these things can be fixed. And so there is no more Ranitidine available to you. Zantac, prescription, non-prescription, none of that is available at all at this point in time. Fortunately, you're not stuck with heartburn. There's lots of alternatives. There are two very similar drugs to Ranitidine still readily available, both prescription and over-the-counter. Tagamet and Pepcid are names everybody's heard of. Just as a quick throw it out there, Tagamet does have more drug interactions, so if you're just going to walk into the shelves of a store tomorrow and go, well, I can't find my Zantac, let me grab one of these other ones, you're just, if without asking and talking to a healthcare provider, you're better probably to grab a Pepcid or a generic product than Tagamet just based on drug interactions. But of course, you can always ask us these type of questions.
Mm-hmm. But Jared, we want Zantac. We don't want this other stuff. We want what we want,
Listen,
we're Americans. We want what we want.
Listen, we've been through this over and over the last few weeks, and the truth is there's just literally nothing that can be done about it. You can't get the over-counter, you can't get the prescription, period. So we are moving to prescription versions of Pepcid and recommended over-the-counter versions of Pepcid for most people. Some people who've tried Pepcid before and it doesn't do the job are having to move to a different family of medications. Those are your PPIs or proton pump inhibitors. Those are things like your Prilosec and your Nexium and your Protonix and your Acifex and these other prescription drugs that by and large do the same thing. A lot of times are even more effective, but can certainly get the job done in place of that Ranitidine.
Over-the-counter medications. I mean, it's constant change, isn't it?
It is constant change, and people ask all the time, well, why is this drug over the counter now? Because the two we're going to talk about today are drugs that have been around for a while as prescriptions, and now they're suddenly being moved to over the counter. So people, well, what's the deal with that? Did they change it to make it weaker, or no? Yeah. And the answer in this case is no. What makes an over-the-counter drug acceptable to the FDA as an over-the-counter drug is, one, it has to be generally safe and generally effective for most people. Most average people can walk in and get it, and this isn't going to have a huge problem with them. That's one of the things that makes a drug over-the-counter safe. The second one is that it treats something that you can decide yourself you have. You can't decide you have certain diseases. The doctor has to test all sorts of things, right? You can't decide you have high cholesterol and then follow, right? It has to be something you can feel yourself that you have, and you can not have to have a lot of follow-up doctor visits for. And in this case, the drugs we're going to talk about today are things that are safe, they're effective. It doesn't take a doctor to tell you have these problems, and so all these fall into this safe category today.
There's really 3 new products that we want to talk about, but first of all, let's get to the eye drops. I think.
Yes, let's start there
because these are available right now. This is out of the 3 things we want to talk about. One of these is available right now, and really this category is 2 different products. There's a Pat-a-Day once daily eye drop and a Pat-a-Day twice daily eye drop. Again, these are available now. These medications are used for the eye symptoms related to allergies. So talking about your
itching, yeah,
itchy, watery eyes related to allergies, which of course this time of year are very common, right? And so let me give a little background on this. Probably 10 years ago, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, all we had available over the counter for allergy type symptoms with the eyes was a Visine product. And there was nothing wrong with the product. It worked quite well. It was just that persons who have a certain type of glaucoma were not able to use that safely. And so 10 or 15 years ago, we got a product that moved from prescription over the counter called Zaditor. It's now available under the name Zaditor or Alloway. It's a fantastic product. It has to be used twice a day, but it's safe and effective for just about everybody age 3 and above. So that's fantastic. The advantage with this newer product would really just be the fact that the Pat-a-Day once daily, as it says, can be used only once daily.
That's a clever name, then.
Pat-a-Day once daily. It's pretty...
Say that fast 10 times.
It's rough, but it describes the product, right? So you guys, if you're like me, it's difficult to remember to do something once every 12 hours when you need it. It's difficult to remember to the nighttime dose for some of you. So this once daily eye drop kind of offers an advantage in that way. And Jake, you can talk about one of the next ones.
Next one that we get a lot of questions about, because a lot of people use this product, is a gel. It's Voltaren gel. A lot of pain doctors will write it. A lot of regular doctors will write it. If you have arthritis or chronic pains, they're going to write this because it is generally safer to rub a gel on the joint that hurts than to take a bunch of pills that got to go through your whole system. And so much safer to use a gel. And Voltaren gel, or diclofenac is the generic name, extremely common prescription product. It is now being moved over the counter because over years of use and testing, it's been shown that you're not absorbing so much of this as to have side effects from it in your body. You put it on the joint that hurts at the recommended amounts, and you don't have a lot of side effects. So safe and effective. It does take a week or so to take effect. You don't rub it on now and 15 minutes later my elbow feels better. It's not how it works. You'd have to use it regularly for up to a week before you notice a difference. But very safe, extremely effective, especially for people who, for various reasons, whether it be stomach issues or liver or kidney issues, can't take the pills for these things. It's for anti-inflammatory pain. It's an anti-inflammatory for pain.
Some of these creams and stuff, gels, are they odor-free?
This one is. And the reason you say that's a good question. A lot of the...
Unless you're standing around Jacob when you apply them, in which they have a very strong odor.
I knew something was coming and there's nothing I can do to stop it. No, the reason that's important to note is that so many pain relief creams and gels over the counter have menthol and camphor and things like that that are extremely odorful. Well, that's not a word, but it is now. And so, no, the medication is naturally odor-free. So there's nothing in it that's going to add odor to it. It's just a much more effective version than anything we currently have out there with your aspirin creams and things like that. Again, you got to use it for a while and use it regularly, but it's much safer than pills generally and very effective for most people.
Yeah, the last one we have is also not available. To repeat, the allergy eye drops are now available. The Voltaren gel Jacob is talking about has been approved, but is not yet on the shelf. It'll be sometime later this year. And here's a third product that is going to be available later this year that's been approved again, but is not yet here. It's called, and I'm going to have to read this, Advil Dual Action with acetaminophen.
You got to get a running start.
Feel like they could have shortened that, but nobody asked my opinion on that. Advil dual action with acetaminophen is what it sounds like. It's a combination of Advil, which is the chemical name ibuprofen, and Tylenol, which is the chemical name acetaminophen. So if you're a person with certain kind of aches and pains that respond better to maybe rotating those two medications, maybe a person has a headache or a backache or even a toothache, something that will respond to a combination of those rather than just one or the other, this might be the drug for you. I do want to say this though, and this is the difficult part maybe with this medication. For the audience that typically watches this show, right? And not to insult any of you, but it's generally our older population.
Well, you best not insult us.
Yeah, I don't want to insult our older population, but usually our older population is who's watching this show. This is a drug that's going to need to be used with extreme caution in you guys, because a lot of times as we get older, you have a person here who can use acetaminophen but not ibuprofen, and a person here who can use ibuprofen but not acetaminophen, and that might depend on your liver function or your kidney function or whether you've had stomach problems with the anti-inflammatory drugs in the past. So I just want you to know that's on the way. It's going to be appropriate for some people, but we definitely want you to talk to your pharmacist before you dive into that deal.
Before we go this morning, we are including now questions and topics for Jared and Jacob every month here on Help Monday. And our question this morning has to do with the COVID-19 and all of us being shut in, and our tempers are short and all this kind of stuff. And the question... A question from one of our audience, one of our viewers, asked the question, how can stress affect our health?
The answer is yes. Stress is both a primary problem in and of itself. It's a disease in and of itself. Stress and anxiety is its own problem, but it also leads to other problems. It's a secondary issue. And so when you have stress and anxiety and it's building up in you, you are going to have, I was going to say bodily manifestations, but that's way too, things are going to happen creepy. Other than stress. Yeah, it's weird. Right. Yeah, sorry. You have stress and anxiety building up. You're going to have things that show in your system. The first and foremost that we would want to bring out is that you're going to affect your immune system. When you're stressed and anxious, your immune system ability is lowering. And then infections that want to jump in there have an opportunity to do so. The first example I can think of is shingles. Shingles jumps out when your immune system jumps down. Yeah. And so that's something to be aware of. The main thing then is, okay, what do I do about this? If I know I want my immune system good because of COVID-19, but I'm stressed about it, and so now my immune system's worse, what can I do? Stress relieving activities, walking, exercising, getting outside, doing what you can within the limitations of what we're allowed.
Fighting is not listed in that, is it?
What's that?
Fighting's not listed in that either.
Fist fighting with family is a great stress reliever, actually.
I think arguing on Facebook is something that you need to avoid.
Turn off the social media. Turn off social media for now. Stress relieving activities and getting rid of certain stressors, social media, is the only way to combat this. There's nothing really you can do except remove negatives from you.
Yeah, this has been very stressful. It's been very worrisome in the last several months. And, you got kids at home. You got people who had been normally working outside the home. They were working in the home now, and they're just kind of shifting gears now. And this is a tough act to balance.
Oh, it is. And, the more this goes on, the more stressful things are, the more people have lost their jobs, the more just every kind of difficulty that you can imagine. It is ironic that we have a situation where we have an infectious disease that's causing all the stress, and the stress lowers your ability to fight off said infectious disease. So Jacob's right. We have to take those steps to ward that off as much as we can.
Well, I'm stressed because my stimulus check hasn't arrived yet. Anyway, hey, thank you guys for being with us this morning. Jacob and Jared from Marble City Pharmacy, a feature every second Monday here on Daybreak Live. Marble City Pharmacy in Silicon. More Daybreak right after this.